Oh, here we are. Hello, everybody.
You got the first line there, Zay.
Yeah, and I just wanted to make sure that everyone can hear me, but I'm assuming y'all can hear me and we're good. Welcome back to Worldbuilders Weekly. As always, every week on Tuesday, we have a wonderful guest, and I think we'll just introduce ourselves real quick. As always, I'm Zay, your Director of Operations at Worldbuilders.
I'm the Executive Director at Worldbuilders. My name's Gray, and we are bringing you news of treasures and special deals from the Worldbuilders market, trivia stuff, lots of nerdy tangents, and geeks doing good stories, all thanks to your incredible support.
And of course, we have our special guest here today. I'm just scooting my microphone closer because I've been told I'm echoey. Welcome, Nandi Taylor.
Hello! Thank you so much for having me on.
We are very excited to have you here to talk about your book. We had a couple people purchase, and if they're in the chat, we'll do some live signings. Otherwise, we're gonna steal your time because I have a lot of questions.
But first, we have announcements. And look at that, I actually remembered to change the sign over there. We have a banner on our Twitch stream, Nandi, that has little light ups as we go through each section. Our main announcement, aside from, hey, you should always go look at the Worldbuilders Market to see what's there. Micronex, if you buy the book right now, if there is one left still, you can get it signed right now, live on camera. That's right. That's how that works. But you better do fast because there's only one left. But we have upcoming in March some extra other good guests coming up, such as the game designers from Leader Games, which is the people who made Root, and they are about to have a big Kickstarter with an expansion pack, the Marauder pack. And so since we already feature the game in our store and an expansion pack already, we thought we'd talk to them. We also have the author of the upcoming book, Son of the Storm, Suyi Davids Okungbowa, coming in. Yes. And he'll be coming in both in March and also closer to when his book is releasing. So we're excited about that.
Also coming up, we're featuring a couple Worldbuilders After Darks. As you guys know, that's an evening show that we have every once in a while or over campaigns. One is with author E. Lily Yu, and another with a new sponsor, Half Monster Games. From they have the game Trust Me, I'm a Doctor, and the new game Trust Me, I'm a Superhero. So we'll be talking about those. Stay tuned, and we'll let y'all know when those After Darks are taking place. Pretty excited about them.
So I'm running into the issue of, hey, I just moved into this place, and I know I have headphones somewhere that I could put on, but I don't know where they are. And as a result, we're getting an echo. I apologize for that. Oh, I found them! Haha! Dun-ta-da.
How dare you, Gray?
I know. I'm a horrible person. Quick cover for me while I figure this out. No, I can actually do this at the same time. It is time for trivia. So, and we'll do a quick little transition here. Ta-da! So smooth. So for trivia, we are going to be talking about, last week's trivia was the first African-American woman astronaut in space was part of a 1992 NASA mission. She was also the first real-life astronaut to appear in an episode of Star Trek. What is her name? And the answer, I'm going to wait and see if people can put it in the chat. Nobody putting it in the chat? What's going on with that? I know you're all going to Wikipedia real fast.
I think it's also because we tell them always not to put it in the chat.
Well, that's for the new one, for the old one. All right, so I will tell you, because I made it a special transition. Dr. Mae Jemison, pictured here in the official astronaut photo. And as we were doing research, I especially love this because one of the, my critics is on my wall. Awesome. When I was reading on Dr. Jemison's biography, Narrow Escape. What she was actually very interested in dancing in her youth, including learning several styles, including African, Japanese, ballet, jazz, and modern. And those are also several of the styles that I learned in college too. And I was like, yay, that's awesome. Somebody else who had a background in dance and then went on to something else. And even at age 14, auditioned for the leading role of Maria in West Side Story, but did not get the leading role. Which, bad for West Side Story, but hey, good for the Astronaut program.
Yep.
Yeah. Also, definitely in terms of child prodigy, entered Stanford University at age 16.
Mm-hmm.
And according to the Wikipedia entry, it was difficult, but she said that it did not faze her because she was, quote, naive and stubborn enough. And at the time, there were very few other African American students in her classes, and so she had to deal with a lot of discrimination in that college experience. And in the Des Moines Register in 2008, she said it was difficult to go to Stanford at 16, but that her youthful arrogance may have helped her. And she asserted that some arrogance is necessary for women and minorities to be successful in a white male-dominated society. And Zay, rightly before the thing, said, are we sure we want to use the word arrogance? And I would say that I would not use the word arrogance, except Jemison used the word arrogance. And if I did not use the word arrogance, that would be arrogance. So I decided that I would use her words in there. But I thought it was really cool. And also, she was also in Star Trek in '93. Yay. So, all of my geek, we have dance, we have Star Trek, we have astronauts. I absolutely love this trivia question. Thank you, Jenny. This is my favorite one in a long time. Okay, I'm done now.
So for our new trivia question, let Gray throw it up there on the screen. As you all know, please DM the answers for new trivia questions.
My new trivia question is not working. Oh no, hang on. Sorry, we're experiencing technical difficulties. There we go.
All right, you got it. Agent Mothman, Agent Dark Booty, and Agent Nessie are part of what fictional organization? I do not know what this is, obviously, because that made me laugh reading Dark Booty. But if you know it, please answer in any of our social media sites in a DM. You can also message questions at worldbuilders.org to be entered into our monthly trivia prize draw. All right. Moving on to the best part of Worldbuilders Weekly,
yes.
Chatting with our special guest. Nandi, again, welcome. It's really great to have you here.
Thank you.
Gray wrote you a little intro here.
Okay.
Gray, do you want to read that?
Yep, I will be doing that as soon as I get the absolute things that I took care to make sure absolutely worked are not working. There we go. Now we're ready. Except not that. Such fun. Yes, here we go. And Nandi, I feel like I've gotten to read your bio a few times because of all the stuff you did with us before. But Nandi is a Canadian writer of Afro-Caribbean descent based in Toronto. Her debut novel, Given, garnered over 1 million reads in the online story sharing site Wattpad and earned a starred review from ALA's Booklist magazine. Common themes that she writes about are growth, courage, and finding one's place in the world. And my first question about Given, Nandi, is this a kissing book?
It's very much a kissing book. There's a few kisses in this book. And that's the way I like it. I write fantasy romance. I'm very much the type of writer who likes to use writing and reading as an escape. And those are, I think, the two most escapist genres you could possibly write in, right? I love world building. It's my favorite thing, just because I love creating a whole new world to just kind of get lost in. And then romance is in itself a type of fantasy. I can't remember. Recently, I heard someone say, I want to say this is a quote from Mindy Kaling, that fantasy is like a subgenre of sci-fi, and that's pretty tongue-in-cheek, but I get what she means, right? Like fantasy. Romance is in itself a type of fantasy. Everything goes perfectly well, there's always a happily ever after. So it's definitely, when you are in a dark or tough place, it definitely serves the purpose of helping you to cope. And I love anything that helps people who are just kind of trying to survive and make it through life, especially within the last year, right? It's been a tough year for all of us. Very strange, a lot of uncertainty, everyone trying to figure out what's my next move, just everyone having to work from home, schedules disrupted.
Hey, hang on 1 second. Sorry, I think I just accidentally lost desktop audio. So, nope, you're fine. It is my bad. Try that again.
Hi, hey.
There we go. Now we
How
can
we
hear you.
doing?
Yep, better. Back.
Awesome. Thank you, chat.
Yep.
Nandi, based on what you just said, we find your main character Yenny going through this kind of journey. She's trying to please the gods. Her father is sick. She's trying to cure him of this illness.
Mm-hmm.
And I had written here that you've talked about how your book kind of deals with culture shock, prejudice.
Mm-hmm.
You just mentioned how fantasy is kind of something that gives people a way to cope. Is it also that for you as the author while you're writing?
Oh, absolutely. I think you'll find a lot of my own personal experiences in this book. For example, some of the themes I interrogate are being a fish out of water, cultural clashes. I use magic as a means of illustrating kind of the way that we venerate some types of knowledge and disparage others, right?
Hmm.
Because my protagonist Yenny, she's very good at her magic of her culture, right? But then she goes abroad and goes to this foreign university, where they do magic in a different way. She does magic by drawing runes all over her body, and this is called rune lore. And then
I
what you do is
love
just
that.
kind of use that rune. Yeah, you use the rune to pull
Mm-hmm.
magic, and you can create things like fire and wind and water.
Draw it
But
on your
then when she
bicep
goes
and
to
you get
this,
stronger. Yay.
exactly, that's
Yeah.
one of the things, yeah, right.
Yeah.
But she goes to this university to the north where they do magic through spells and incantations. And she's not very good at that because she's never learned that before. And a lot actually of the magic depends on how much you believe in it, to
Hmm.
be honest. This isn't explicitly stated in the book. This is just kind of a one of those background lore things that if you maybe, I don't know, analyze the book enough, you'll notice. But the magic doesn't actually depend on what you do to bring it forth. It's your belief that really um, makes it work. And so she doesn't really understand these how to do magic through incantations. There's all kinds of laws and principles of magic that this university is set up, and she's just not familiar with them. And because of that, speaking words and then making magic happen is very difficult for her.
How
Just
much
because
of Oh, sorry about that.
I was gonna say, just because she hasn't been indoctrinated that way since, early childhood.
How much of that kind of world building lore that's in the background would you say doesn't make it into the book?
A lot.
And yeah.
I think for any author who's really big on world building,
a lot. It's impossible to get it all in there. There would be these huge long passages of info dumps that just would bore people, I think. But I do think knowing it informs the book and makes it feel more real.
I
Yeah.
feel like there's a good place for that in like the codex, because like I was one of those nerds who had the Tolkien companion,
Mm.
with all of those long info dumps, in an encyclopedia kind of thing, and I think that there's that's one of the best things about being in an internet connected society, because you could put all that stuff in like a given wiki,
Hmm.
and turn it into that universe. It's really awesome. Sorry, Zaya, you were going to say something.
No, no, that's also where my mind is at. You mentioned though how Yenny she kind of uses runes for her magic, or not? She does. Um, I had seen you talk about how this was based a little bit on some West African writing styles.
Hmm.
Sabidi, and please correct me, Jinka, is that the other one?
Oh,
Um,
yeah, it was Nsibidi and from Nigeria, and then a drinker from Ghana.
Ajinka, thank you. And I'm wondering how much do you kind of spend time researching to gather inspiration from these other cultural influences?
That's hard to say because I research as I go.
Mhm.
And this book was like 5 years in the making, so I forget a lot of what I researched and when I researched it. ADHD will do that. I have very bad long-term memory, unfortunately. Side note, I will literally watch a movie, go back and watch it like 3 years later, and be like, I know I watched this movie, but I don't remember any of this happening. And it's like watching it again, so it's good for me. Um, but no, the research kind of happens as I go. Um, though I'm trying something new with the latest book that I'm writing now, where I'm going to do all the research up front.
Hmm.
And it's partially because I'm trying to get a grant, and I have to, I have to show the research that I'm going to do. It's a research grant. So surprisingly, shockingly, they want to know what research I'm going to do. So I have to tell them exactly what they, how dare they,
So
just give
picky,
me my money.
Yeah.
I wonder though, as far as like, I guess, research kind of real world, and then of course you have your own world that you're building in fantasy. How much of it gets influenced by these kind of real world aspects?
For me right now, a lot of it does, and I've been thinking about this. It's hard to say if it's because I'm a new writer and I just feel more confident when I take inspiration from the real world, or if it's because these are issues that really affect and bother me and I think about at night, and I just want to bring light to them. Like in Given, you'll see we're dealing with themes of anti-colonialism, cultural appropriation, and this idea of um, standardized education, and whether that's right for all cultures and all people, and how it
Yeah.
fails people from certain facets of society.
I think that's really a nice kind of take to enter the fantasy realm. We have, of course, we have a problem where a lot of it is this kind of a medieval white view on things. So it's kind of
Mhm.
nice to see, Yanni is a little younger, kind of in what maybe a mid 20s person is going through, or a
Mm.
young 20s person is going through in college. So it's kind of nice to experience that um, really particular setting
Mhm.
through the character, and of course, the the experiences that you yourself deal with. Um, as a when the readers are kind of taking all of this in, I wonder, what do you kind of hope the reader gets out of it the most, or just in general?
So there have been a lot of discussions about this. Why uh, BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, POC authors are writing, who they're writing for. When I first started writing this book, I guess I would say it was a mix. I was writing to all the young Black girls who had loved fantasy, especially paranormal romance, but had never seen a heroine that looked like them. You know, um, I had never seen a dark-skinned Black woman who was being kind of adored and held up as the standard of beauty. So definitely that's one audience I was writing for. Um, I guess I also kind of hope that any white readers reading the book would kind of get an insight into what a lot of us go through every day. There's one scene where a character asked to touch Yenny's hair, which is
Mm.
something that a lot of Black women encounter, and it's annoying. Especially when it keeps on happening. And I've had people do this and they're like, I don't understand why you don't like, I love when people touch my hair. And I'm like, that's great for you.
Yeah.
Just don't touch mine. Okay. I don't know where your fingers have been, you know? And you're kind of making me feel like a pet in a petting zoo right now. And that's exactly what Yeni says to this person who does this to her. And in fact, because it's her first time in this foreign land, she's like, well, can I touch your hair? And so she does. And the other person's like, I kind of don't like this. And she's like, yeah, I didn't like it either. You know? So scenes like that, I hope, one will resonate with the people that it happens to, right? Other young Black women, but maybe it will also kind of open the eyes of the people who are doing this. So I'm definitely trying a little bit to sprinkle in some education in there, but at the same time, I just want to tell a good, fun story.
We speaking of the idea of romance, and I remember I can't remember exactly what the situation was, but I was asked to define what makes a book romantic as opposed to some other genre, and I think it came down to um, uh, overreactions, miscommunications, and long sighs.
Long
And
size.
long sighs, yeah. You know, and those three elements. If you put those three into any particular situation, it can become a romance.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, it was important to have miscommunication and overreaction to miscommunication, um, which is not to denigrate the genre. I think the genre is amazing and very difficult to write well. Um, and one of the issues, and this is something that I've even run into, is that uh, in a lot of older movies, for example, I'm a big Baz Luhrmann fan. Loved Moulin Rouge. Moulin Rouge doesn't age well.
Mhm.
It goes from being a very romantic movie to being a stalking, jealous boyfriend and a manipulative, objectifying wealthy person and a woman who's suffering from an illness.
Mhm.
It just becomes less and less. And so um, I know that part of me was like this is and I don't think it's a spoiler because I think it's in the description of Weish when Weish shows up, he basically looks at um, why is my name I'm blanking on the name of the
Yay. Yeah.
Yenny. Um, he looks at her and said, "Oh, you're the one. That's it."
Yep.
And the one is one of those tropes of romances and things
It
like that.
is. Mhm.
And oh my God, it's a dragon and it's a purple-eyed, beautiful man, and et cetera, et cetera. But then there's the issue of consent. I mean, if when she says no and sets that initial boundary, romance says, I will keep on pursuing you, I will ignore these things. But
Mhm.
on the other side, there's the issue of, hey, you set that boundary, okay, then I'm going to, respect that. And I know
Yep.
you address it, and I don't know, I don't want to put more spoilers than I may have already put in there, so I don't want to talk about when you address it in terms of Waish's friends. But do you want to talk about how you walk that line of not setting a bad example of consent, but still keeping it in the romantic context?
Yeah, I will say that I that was intentional. I
Cool.
definitely wanted to exaggerate that kind of toxic masculinity that you see in a lot of romance. I wanted to satirize it.
Mm.
Um, so he is deliberately horrible at the beginning, and he's not even that bad. I've seen so much worse. Um,
Yeah.
but he's very much been drinking the Kool-Aid and thinks that, hey, I'm part of this love story. This is my soulmate. Let's go, you know? And he's like, yeah, no. Um, that's not how this is going to work. And he has a lot of growing to do um, before they could ever get together. And she does too. Like I said, I love writing about growth, right? And finding what that's right in my bio. But and his friends are a big part of that. I think in a lot of these type of books, you don't see anyone actually calling out the alpha male and saying like, "Hey, you can't actually do this." So that was something I wanted in my book. And his friends are definitely hard on him and help him see the truth of the matter. Without spoiling, something pretty devastating happens to him as well, that kind of sobers him up and allows him to to think clearly and realize and gain some self awareness.
Cool.
Go ahead, Gray.
I was going to say, I know we have more questions about writing for you, but I wasn't sure if this would be a good time to maybe do the signings. I know Micronex is in the chat, having bought one, and yeah, actually, there he is. Nandi in the chat, Micronex says, "You may not know it, but you are writing to me too. A black man who loves to see black culture being expressed in fiction and sci-fi."
Oh, that's wonderful. I'm so glad. Yep.
Yeah, and I think that's probably a good segue to do the first signing.
Okay.
And I guess I will ask Micronex if you'd rather that the signing be a private thing. I can message it to Nandi, or you can put it here in chat. Either way. But Nandi, can we see the paperback there?
Yeah,
just so we can see what it looks like.
Oh, that's the beautiful new cover.
It is
Yes.
so amazing.
And
yeah.
and see these runes on her
Yes.
arm here? These I
Oh.
actually designed them
Really?
myself. Yes, and I usually draw a little rune in every signing that I do as well.
That's amazing.
Awesome.
Like there's runes for fire, water, wards against pain, lightning, that kind of thing.
How close are they to those West African influences versus you kind of adding your own spin to them?
They're definitely a mix. Because I wanted everything in this book to be kind of off a little bit because it is fantasy. So I'm taking a lot of creative license. So I took the two and kind of merged them and made something that to me looked magical.
Mm-hmm.
But also incorporated those very real writing systems from West Africa.
That's cool and insane and awesome.
It took like 2 hours too. It was a lot harder to come up with each than I thought because I needed them to look like fantasy-ish, right? But at the same time, I really wanted you to be able to see that influence. Anyone who actually knew those writing systems, that this looks familiar.
Did we have Micron's answer?
I'm not seeing it in the chat, so we could probably. What are your favorite runes? Ah, there it is. To Ford is fine.
Okay, let me make a note of that. Do you need me to assign them now? Because I don't actually have anything set up. I didn't realize you wanted me to sign live.
Oh no, that's okay.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah.
I will definitely be drawing. Do you have a particular rune that you wanted there? I came up with runes for fire, water, lightning, wards against pain. What was the other one? Speed and strength. I think strength is my favorite because it looks like kind of like a spear almost. Speed is also pretty cool.
I love this idea.
He says,
because
are they
dealer's choice?
Dealer's choice, right? All right. So we'll have that.
So I love this idea because like this is my iPad, which has like Rat Queens and Nate Taylor thing on here, but the one in the middle, I'd be interested if anybody can recognize what that is. That is the Bridge 4 rune or badge from the Brandon Sanderson books. Which, if you're a fan of the Brandon Sanderson one, the runes play a big deal in that. And Bridge 4, it is one of those things that kind of I love the idea of the runes because they kind of like give me inspiration and strength in that. So I like, now that you said that, I'm not going to derail the conversation, but I kind of want to see like, what do they all look like, and where they come from, and how can we turn them into temporary tattoos and things like that.
Yeah.
Um, so that is really awesome. Um, yeah, and Shash is another one from the Sanderson mythology, and Micronex is that too. So
Hmm.
yeah. Um,
I
Go ahead.
Sorry, great. I had some questions on here involving, your writing style and its relation to your world building, and I'm wondering, I really like to ask authors, as far as like your process, do you start with basic and then enter details later, or do you start, in small snippets and let the basics like form around it? I know you took also quite a while to finish this book. So I'm kind of wondering how that goes about, and then in relation to creating your world either around it or starting from, and then working specific characters, things like
Hmm.
that.
So I do have a metaphor that I often use when I talk about writing. I used to paint a lot when I was in high school. I had to kind of give that up in in favor of writing, really, just because there's only so many hours in a day. But I do think of writing like painting. In that first, I will do the sketch, right, which is like that rough draft, and I usually do that in a notebook. I just find writing the first draft in a notebook to be a lot more conducive to flow, right? Um, I like the feel of the pen on the paper. So that'll be the sketch, right? And then the second draft will be like the underpainting. This is when I transfer the uh, notebook writings to, like, I transcribe it. And for some reason, that really kickstarts my creativity. I don't even really have to try, things just come to me. And I start also doing like a minor line edits as well, and just cleaning up the language and making it prettier and more rhythmic. And then I would say the next layer, the next draft will usually include like the uh the detail now, like we're getting into things like shading and defining an eye or a nose, or making it look like what it's supposed to be, right? It's starting to really make sense. I'm filling in all those spots where I said insert fight scene here and stuff like that, the wonderful notes I leave for myself for future Nandi. And then the last step is adding the shadows and the highlights, which take the book, I think, from feeling cartoonish to more of a realistic style. And I think that part is like where you get into people's preference, right? Some people like a lot of description, a lot of detail. They like a very realistic book. Others' writing style is very sparse and to the point. Both are fine. I personally prefer, I lean more on the descriptive side. I Because, like I said, I like to escape into fantasy, and I feel like having that kind of description within reason helps suck people into the book and into the world. So I like to go and describe things like food and scents, and what the houses look like, and things like this, and make it feel like a place you could actually go.
Yeah, I as a reader, I love the immersive styles. I think that it makes people feel, just like you said, like they can kind of escape in the book. And also when it comes to, artifacts and representations from the book,
Mhm.
it's always really cool to be able to see that stuff come to life, and really bring it out from the book into the real world is always something special, I think, for a reader. So
Mhm.
I love these kinds of books, especially, as I've mentioned 3 times now, that writing style is something that I kind of lock on to, and it's super cool.
Mhm.
You also wrote your book on Wattpad.
I did. Yeah,
Yeah.
I started, I've had a long history of putting work up online, mostly just because I wanted the eyes on it and the validation. And so I started putting that story up in 2017. I figured, you know what? Let me just see what happens, because I've always loved the idea of self-publishing. I just didn't want to put in the considerable upfront investment
Mm.
to get it done and then have to worry about recouping that investment, So it's like I will just, for lack of a better word, sacrifice a book to the internet and see what happens. I'll build a following. I will get feedback. I will become a better writer from doing this and learn about becoming an author as well because I'll be interacting with people. And it was a pretty good experience. I had it's not for everyone because you're going to have people commenting on the book just daily, right? Inline comments. It's like having 100 editors, right?
Sounds like a
Right.
nightmare.
Not quite because the comments were overwhelmingly positive.
Well, that's
It's
good.
really just a lot of the audience there is quite young and they're all just very excited. And I had a lot of readers who are of Nigerian and specifically Yoruba descent who recognized the names that I was using, and were really really excited to see themselves reflected in a fantasy book, because to this day that's quite rare. Though we are getting a lot more authors um, writing fantasy and especially young adult fantasy. This is the book I'm reading right now. Maybe you've seen her
Yay!
around.
Yes,
Yeah.
we've mentioned that a couple times on the channel.
Yeah,
That
we
is
have
one
it.
of our prizes in our prize draw this year, and it is a
Fantastic
beautiful
book
book.
by Namina. And I've also read Ray Bear by Jordan Fuico, A Song of Wraiths and Ruins by Roseanne Nate Brown, all African inspired fantasy. I'm so happy to see it. I'm so happy. Like it feels like it's all really coming to a head this year. Um, and I'm just
Have you
really,
read
really
Trouble the Saints?
not yet, not yet.
Oh,
That's on my
don't read it at night alone. It's so scary.
okay.
It's so frightening.
Yes. But I'm really, really excited to see that. And sorry, I lost my train of
I'm
thought because
sorry.
this beautiful cover
No,
distracted
it's
me.
Yeah.
amazing. I
Yeah.
really love too when the characters are represented on the covers because,
Mhm.
it's so nice when you can pick up a book and immediately
Mhm.
see yourself on the book. It's like,
Yes,
finally,
yes,
you know.
yes. And to be honest, when I was first putting this book up on Wattpad, I did not put my girl Yanni on the cover. And I will admit it, it was out of a fear that this would alienate readers who were not Black, because
Hmm.
that had been the way things worked for the longest time. Literally, marketing departments would tell authors, okay, why don't we use this cover because we don't want to alienate people. And then books with Black people on the cover would be kind of shelved in the African American section as well,
Hmm.
and create this whole niche. It's almost as if race becomes a genre. And that's a problem because but then when you get into publishing books, you say, well, we already have our Black book. We already have our Chinese book. And
Yeah,
that's messed up, you know?
yeah,
What about what these books are about
yeah.
outside of the race of the characters? So we're finally, I feel like um, moving away from this uh, ideology of race being its own niche or genre, um,
Yeah.
and just kind of instead letting uh, the genre include or become more inclusive. Um,
It's so frustrating, I think, too,
mhm,
because, when you have a book and it's considered a niche, and you're not in, say, like, oh, the Black or the African American section of
mhm,
something, I think you miss out on, even if the author didn't intend to have their experiences, around their minority experiences,
mhm,
you still see through the eyes of that author as they write, I
mhm,
think. Their intentions might not be to be informative or educational, but I think I'm still learning or seeing something, as a person who maybe doesn't experience the same things as them.
mhm.
You gotta share, um or you have to, it would just be nice, or it's nice as we kind of change that
Mhm.
experiences become shared, is what I'm
Yep,
trying to say.
yep. And I wrote an essay about this. I believe it was for Book Riot, about the power of representation on the page and how damaging it is when there is no reputation because it sends the silent message that you don't matter. You don't need to appear, you know. And that was the kind of the message that I unfortunately subconsciously got growing up, because I was very much into fantasy. But I wasn't seeing a lot of Black people in fantasy. And so here we have this thing that I think is the most beautiful, wonderful, escapist thing in the world, but I'm not meant to be part of it, you know?
Mm.
And so I think that's a big part of why I decided to start writing fantasy, and especially fantasy centering characters, Black characters. Yeah.
Kind of to go back to Wattpad, I'm curious, why did you choose that kind of, I guess, what led you there and what made you stay there as you continued writing your books?
So it's funny you mentioned that, because I actually talk about this on my YouTube channel. I did a couple of Q&A sessions, and this was one of the questions. So if anyone's interested, hit up my YouTube and you'll see me answering a bunch of questions about that. But it was for two reasons. One, I wanted the kind of validation, right? And I had been querying and getting nowhere, and I was like, let me see what happens if I put my stuff up online and reach people directly. Will they like it? Am I actually a good writer? Or do I just suck and that's why I can't get anywhere? And it turns out the book was actually, it resonated with people. I also knew that the primary audience, the two biggest genres on Wattpad were romance and fantasy. My book just happened to be both. So I was like, well, this is kind of a no-brainer. I'm pretty sure this book will probably do well with this audience. What will come of that? Who knows? Probably good things. you know and it did. I was able to get the book published through their imprint, which has opened up a lot of doors for me. I was able to get writing grants, which are allowing me now to write new books and explore my craft even further. I was able to get a literary agent, and that kind of thing. So it in my case, the putting the stuff online was really beneficial. I would recommend anyone try it. There are risks. Books have been known to be plagiarized, unfortunately, and then put up on Amazon, of all places, for money. So that's something that you need to keep in mind. There are also a lot of scammers who will find your book and be like, I will give you this contract. You can just ignore most of anyone in your inbox and vet anyone who comes to you trying to publish your work. And even big five publishers, you need to vet everybody. I would highly recommend getting an agent to look over any contract that you get.
That's some good advice, especially because we've had a couple authors on who have self-published. Gray, I've been kind of stealing a lot of the questions. Did you?
No, you're doing great. I guess I just want to, I'll just do a quick, I'm going to pivot to video, as they say, and say, Nandi, as much as I love your writing and would love to sit here and say, just keep writing things, I'm a fan of your YouTube channel. You want to talk about what you do there and how that works?
Yeah, she's tiny. She's a micro channel right now. But I really have fun putting videos on there. Basically, I talk about writing and life advice. So my latest video that I just put up, I'm playing this game. I do kind of let's plays of usually The Sims, but I will switch it up once in a while. Like I like to just, I'm doing a series where it's a sim of me who is also an author and a YouTuber, and I'm trying to get her rich and famous. So I'm doing like this Simception kind of thing, while I just do Q&As and talk about my process. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's pretty funny. But I've been playing this game called Getting Over It, where it's the silliest game. You're this dude. For some reason, you're in a cauldron and you have a pickaxe. Maybe people have heard of this game, and you're trying to get up this mountain, right? And the controls are impossible. It's literally just the mouse, and you're making circles with the mouse trying to get up this mountain. And it's the most frustrating thing. And so it's me just raging about this game, but also giving advice about how to deal with life's frustrations and deal with life's obstacles. And the game is just very philosophical, I think. I'm getting a lot out of it. Out of how you keep, because you'll get so far and then just fall all the way back to the bottom. There's no mercy in this game. And I think life is a lot like that. Like sometimes you will make progress and then something will happen, you find yourself right back at square one. Um and you just have to pick up and try again. And so my latest one is talking about different strategies for dealing with life's obstacles such as getting the knowledge you need, right? Talking to people who have done it before, things like this, all while being very annoyed and frustrated at this game. And I think it's funny. So other people have seen it, think it's funny too. So if you want to check out my YouTube channel, it's just my name. It's Nandi Taylor on YouTube. We're at 64 subscribers now, so I'm working toward 100 subscribers.
I don't want to alarm you, but now you're at 66
Oh,
subscribers.
yay!
There you go.
Yay!
Yep.
The numbers are growing. So yeah, it's really fun. It takes a long time to make these videos, to be quite frank, because I'm starting from zero, and literally learning video editing as I go. But it's a labor of love, so I like it. It's like it's been a good
Nice.
distraction from publishing drama.
Social media is so funny and amazing because there's never been a time where you can read a book by an amazing author and then also just jump on them playing
Yeah.
like games on a YouTube channel.
Yeah,
You know?
a glimpse into
Yeah.
daily life, right?
Yeah.
I'm also starting very soon. I'm going to start a new series, and I hope that this does well. Where I've always said that my favorite book is like fairy and folk tales. Basically, is where I got my start with fantasy. My parents bought me this big book of folk tales from all around the world. Like every country, you had like Australian Aborigine folk tales, you had Iroquois folk tales, India, Russia, all over the world. Um, and so, what I want to do is kind of give a retelling of those folk tales, but in my own words, and give my reaction to them, like the moral of them and that kind of thing. And I think that should be a lot of fun.
That does
That
sound
sounds
good.
great.
So look out for that. That's coming as soon as I decide to film it.
Is there another book that you're currently working on that we could hear a little bit or
I
Hear about?
just I said I was working on this book for a research grant. So this one I've just been kind of it's starting to form together, the zygote is starting to form. The cells are coming together. This one is going to deal heavily with what's been happening recently. When it comes in 2020, we've kind of unearthed a lot of practices that have been disturbing when it comes to things like capitalism, um, policymakers. I don't want to get too political, but the book is basically going to center on neocolonialism and how so this idea of how colonialism based in capitalism is sneaky and insidious and just as damaging as the military colonialism that we've seen in the past. So a lot of developing countries are developing because of hindrances from outside, from other countries, and a lot of people don't realize this. We look at developing countries and think, well, it's just because that's the way they are, right? They're just inferior countries. That's all. They just don't know how to develop the way these first world countries have. And there's a lot of background interference and hindrance and things like this that people don't really know about because you just don't hear about it in history books. And I think I would love to explore that in a fantasy setting.
Yeah, I look at it. It drives me a little nuts to see all of these. Again, it's like the games. Like I never actually really got good at it, but I used to think StarCraft was a wonderful thing, wonderful game. And within the storyline, I can handle it, but there's so many games that it's basically like colonialism. Like, go to this island, chop down the trees, subdue the wildlife, build a castle, now build another
Mhm.
castle, now make an army so you can sail to another island and do the same, over and over and over again. And I'm just like, at a certain level, they're like indoctrinating this colonialism mindset. It's not just in the water or around us, but or in the air that
Mhm.
we breathe. It's being injected, and I long for games. I mean, I'm not familiar with one you were talking about, but I look for games that are more like cooperative or have a different kind of objective than just conquering everything else or
Mhm.
becoming a mini dictator. But it's I would love to see how what your take on those will be.
Mhm.
Um,
So would I, because it's very much in the beginning stages. So I'm very excited to get into this and see what my brain makes of it. Um, After this, I'm just gonna kind of put my headphones on, blast music, pipe music into my ears, and just try to get into that flow state and see what I can come up with.
nice.
Um, Not to say that I'm not having fun here. If this
No,
goes
no,
over,
that's
it
all
goes
right.
over. I'm really enjoying this
Yeah.
we
conversation.
Please stop writing, Nandi.
yeah. No, well that just means that we will consider having you back on a regular basis because we really enjoy talking with you as well.
Mhm.
But that is a good time to actually jump into our lightning round, um, which is a list of just normal non-writing questions that just to kind of get to know people. And I guess I have the first one, don't I? I actually color coded these. So, lightning round. What is your beverage of choice?
Ooh, I would say coffee with hazelnut creamer.
All right.
I
Mm,
start every morning with that.
that's my favorite way to have coffee if I
Mhm.
order it anywhere. So gold star on personal opinions. No. Um, okay, what is your meal of choice?
Oh, why? I'm a foodie. I can't
Ah.
choose. There
Okay,
will be
then what is
days.
what is your most recent good meal then? How about that? What's the best thing you've had recently? You'd be like, yeah, I'd recommend this.
Recently, I discovered this taco place that is so close to where I live. I've been here for years. I didn't even know this taco place was here. And they have the best tacos, carnita steak tacos. So I got those yesterday.
I bet you Captain Macbeth and so like writing this down for
Yeah,
the next time
you
she
gotta
goes.
move to Toronto,
She
Captain
yeah
Yep.
Macbeth.
yeah. Um, and so what's a you mentioned some books already, but any other a good book? If I said, hey, I'm looking for a good book to read, what would you recommend?
I just read The Year of the Witching by Alexis Henderson. Fabulous, very ominous, spooky atmosphere. Some parts genuinely like disturbed me, you know? She does a great job of making horror horrible. I don't know, of creating that sense of dread, you know?
Yeah,
And so the Year of the Witching was really good.
yeah.
Oh, but I just got this book. Like I said, I really love folk tales.
Hmm.
So this
Oh,
is a
that's a beautiful
collection of,
cover.
yes, and it's also got some very beautiful illustrations, um, like all done by the author Yoshi Yoshitani.
Oh, nice.
So this book, like for example, the story is called The Nightingale. It's a Chinese folktale, and then you have Sleeping Beauty. I don't know if anyone can see
Huh.
that.
Beneath the Moon, that's what that was called?
Beneath the Moon. Yep.
Cool.
And the funny thing, this is an early birthday present to myself because my birthday's at the end of the month, and it also has a tarot deck.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So
That's interesting.
I've been giving myself and my friends tarot readings. It's just for fun. Um, and I just think of it as like a game, and it's really, really. The cards are beautiful. They're all based on different folk tales from around the world. Um,
Oh,
yeah, so they're really, really pretty.
You're getting a early birthday early birthday happy wishes from
Thank you.
Zoe.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, happy birthday.
You know,
In
lots of February birthdays at World Builders.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, this one. I like this one. What is something in the room or in your house that people might be surprised by?
Something in the room that people might be surprised by.
It could also be something
Uh,
just kind of quirky or silly.
I don't have anything within arm's reach that I can show, but I have a dragon that someone gave me at my book launch. It's like a toy dragon.
Huh.
And when you turn it on, he like roars and flaps his wings and stuff. It's really cute.
Oh, that
It's
sounds
really
awesome.
cute. Yeah.
That's
That's
fantastic.
amazing.
Cool. All right. So, and here I have a magic wand, and if I wave my magic wand, um, we can make anyone, real or imagined, alive or dead, appear in a safely socially distanced area with you, and to have a conversation with. Who would you like to have manifest?
I would like to manifest one of my characters
Ooh, which one?
and
Oh.
hear what they think about what I did to them.
Oh.
That kind of reminds me of that movie with Will Ferrell where he hears the author narrating his life.
Yeah. What was the name of that movie?
I had a
Better
second.
Than Fiction, I think.
Yeah,
Stranger than fiction.
Stranger than Fiction.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think we've had that answer before, but that would be terrifying.
I sometimes like fantasize about that. It depending on the character, it could be a mess. Yeah.
You feel like I know we're running out of time here, Gray, but do you feel like you know your characters, like you hear their voice and see the way they look and act and talk?
Yeah. I think I know my characters pretty intimately. Because like it or not, they're based on me, right? Whether I want them to be or not, it's always going to be coming from some subconscious part of my psyche. And I like to at least try to be at least if I make the character knowing that it's me, then I can kind of control it, as opposed to it being some subconscious part that I'm revealing parts of myself I don't even really know that I am, you know?
Oh, this inspired some questions in the chat.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, let's do it.
Would you know your character if you met them randomly on the street? And do you like them?
Some, yes.
Maybe the
Some.
garb, what they're
Maybe
wearing.
which one, sorry?
I said maybe their dress style would give it away that you'd see if you met them on the street.
Probably. I sometimes think about this. I think about, like, for example, Weish. I had so much fun writing him, and I felt so bad for him at certain parts of the book, but I'm positive he would annoy me if we ever met in real life. I'm positive, but he has a good heart. He would try. But especially early Weish would annoy the crap out of me if I met him in real life.
Nice.
Except in dragon form. In dragon form, he's adorable. I love him in dragon form.
Well, what's not to love in dragons?
Yep.
Okay. Well, the only other question we have is where's the best place to find you there? You talked about YouTube. Are you still writing on Wattpad, or are you?
Yeah, I just started posting a nonfiction book about basically how I built my platform on Wattpad and used it to get published. So if that's something you're interested in, and you have a Wattpad account, go find me. I'm under Nandi_Taylor, and that book, Success, I think I named it Success on Wattpad or something like that. I've just been uploading like short chapters there on what I did, and maybe it'll work for you too. I'm also on Instagram. I'm on Twitter. I said YouTube and Twitch kind of, but I haven't streamed in a long time. I think as my YouTube channel picks up, I will probably come back to Twitch as well.
Cool. Okay. Well,
And are you Nandi_Taylor on What is
So
your
I've been terrible about this. I've been told you're supposed to keep your handle the same everywhere. I did not.
Yeah.
I think partially because I couldn't. I think it was taken in some spots. But on Instagram, I'm Nandi T author. Twitter's the same, Nandi_Taylor, same as Wattpad. YouTube's just my name, Nandi Taylor. And then Twitch is Nandi Story, because that just fit better for Twitch. My whole thing was I was going to play story-based games, but I realized pretty soon that you have to read the dialogue, and that's exhausting. So I just started playing Super Mario Maker levels, which is really, really fun.
Excellent. All right. Well, then we will just go into. Oh wait, I get to switch it. Yay! So I'm very excited about actually getting the buttons right today. Normally, our engineer is Jamie, and she's much better at running OBS than I am. But I am trying to be her Padawan in the OBS world.
Mm-hmm.
So we will just say we will see you all again next week. We want your suggestions of other creators, authors, gamers, developers, artists. Nandi, anyone you think we should have on?
Very excited to hear that you bring Sui on.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Yes.
Yeah.
And let us know you can always reach us on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, tagging us and letting us know what you think.
And I'm sure you saw it. We have people saying thank you in the chat for joining us, and I want to reflect that. Thank you so much for coming on. Your book is wonderful. Please, everyone, read Given. And I had an amazing chat with you.
Thank you.
Very much so. All right. If you have any questions or comments, you can always email them to questions@worldbuilders.org, and we will be here again next week. And we, Nandi, we have a sort of a ritual sign-off so we know when we've actually stopped broadcasting. We say a word, and then we wait to see it in chat so we know that the lag has caught up. Mm-hmm. So today, normally the sign-off is Vivamus, but then people know what it is going to be, so they put it in too early. So we have to change it slightly. So today's special sign-off is Weishamus. We'll see who pronounces it right.
There we go.
All right. Thanks, everybody.